Since the old creationist arguments have been debunked 12 ways from Sunday, creationists are trying to use more sciencey sounding ones involving made-up terms like specified complexity. Here's a guy who thinks that biochemistry presents evidence against evolution and that you need an intelligent mind to build proteins.
There's a problem, though, right off the bat if you want to build a protein. By chance, without any kind of intelligence. Here's the problem. We can make amino acids, even in the laboratory, okay? The problem is when we make these things, they come in two different forms. They come in both left-handed and right-handed amino acids. How many people in here are left-handed? Okay, this is like a shout out for you guys, because it turns out, all my lefties, it turns out all of life is made up of left-handed amino acids. In fact, if you add one right-handed amino acid to the mix, you basically destroy your protein, okay? It won't fold properly. And so what you want is only left-handed amino acids. That's important. So it turns out, hey, if we want to build one of these by chance, what we're going to do is first we're going to get our first left-hand amino acid, and then we're going to try and get another left-hand amino acid, stick it on there, and then another and another and another, until you got 150 in a row. Now here's the problem. When we make these in the laboratory, or find them, they come in a 50-50 mixture. It's basically a coin flip. So quite literally, if you want the odds, probability of getting your left-handed amino acid every time is a coin flip, 1 in 2 chance. And then when you start to, just like our bike lock, you start to multiply the difficulty, right? Because you have 1/2 times 1/2 times 1, and all of a sudden, if you have 150 of these in a row, well, your odds are now 1 in 2 to the power of 150.
The chirality problem is one for which we don't have a certain answer, but we do have some clues as to how this works. One is that chiral molecules which form chains with each other seem to be able to select other molecules of the same chirality. According to a paper by Yin et al., adding chiral coanions suppresses the self-assembly of one enantiomer while maintaining the assembly of the other one. This leads to a natural chiral selection and chiral amplification process, indicating that some environmental preferences can lead to a complete chiral selection. In simpler terms, chains of left-handed molecules are more likely to add more left-handed molecules, and chains of right-handed molecules are more likely to add more right-handed molecules. So it wouldn't be a 50-50 coin flip every time amino acids bond to form a chain.
But here's the worst problem of all. It turns out, it's called the sequence problem. If you can't just get these amino acids, you can't just put them all together willy-nilly.
That's how this dude thinks evolution works. It's all willy-nilly. It's nothing but random mutation, filtration by natural selection just doesn't happen, or he expects us to believe that it too is willy-nilly.
That's the scientific term, okay? You can't put them together there's an order or sequence to how they go so that at the end they fold properly so they can do their function, like a hat or something. This would be a terrible hat, actually. Just like that kinesin protein that walks along and carries the cargo, it has to be set up in such a way so it folds and does its job, okay?
Right, the genes which code for proteins that do a job that aids survival and reproduction are selected by natural selection, and the ones that don't are not.
It turns out these amino acids, there are 20 left-handed to make up life, they have to be in a certain sequence. They act like letters of the alphabet. It would be like 20 letters of the alphabet. And just like alphabetical letters have to be in a certain sequence to spell out words, in the same way, these amino acids are in a certain sequence to spell out your protein, okay? So we could take some letters, and this says, here's a good command to my children, be kind to your mom. Be kind to your mom. But look I could take those same letters and mix them up a little bit, and now I have the command, me mink bo Todd. If I told my kids that, they would think I was having a serious problem, okay? Like, we need to call the doctor.
Well, imagine that there's a system which filters out the nonsensical statements and leaves the statements that are actually intelligible. After a while, you'd have quite a number of intelligible statements generated from random processes.
Okay? Right? And so you could see here the sequence of the letters matters. And it turns out the sequence of the amino acids in our protein matter as well. Here's a way to think of it. Imagine there's only 3 letters in our whole alphabet, and those 3 letters are O, D, and G, okay? Now, it turns out if we want to use those 3 letters and only make 3-letter words, we can make how many words? Well, you could make 3 times 3 times 3, or 3 to the power of 3, which is 27 different words. The problem is most of those aren't real words, right? Well, how many real words are there? Well, it turns out in this collection of letters, you can make the word odd, God, dog, and goo. Apparently goo's a real word, okay? And your odds are really a 1 in, 7, something like that you'll get a real word if you just randomly picked out Scrabble letters and there was only 3 of them. Okay? Well, it turns out some of the sequences of our left-hand amino acids, some of them will produce real words or real proteins that will fold, but most of them won't. And there was a chemist, a biochemist, Cambridge University, Doug Axe, and he actually came up with a number. And he said the odds of getting the sequence right that will fold for a protein for life in this situation are 1 in 10 to the 74th power. That's a 1 followed by 74 zeros. Now, I want you to listen to this. This kind of sequence-specific information, this always comes from a mind.
That actually contradicts what you just previously said. If the chance of something happening from a random process is 1 in 10 to the 74th power, then even a random process is likely to produce it in 1 out of every 10 to the 74th power iterations. It wouldn't always be produced by a mind. Douglas Axe's calculations, by the way, have not been peer-reviewed. He is a published molecular biologist, but none of his works arguing for creationism or against evolution have ever been published in any peer-reviewed document.
For example, if I saw this sequence of letters on my fridge, I would think nothing of it. Maybe my 2-year-old was just throwing fridge magnets against the wall, against the fridge, okay? And the laws of magnetism, they're just doing their thing, holding them there. But if I saw this sequence on the fridge, it would be foolish, right, for me to think that that was caused by the laws of magnetism and chance.
It would also be foolish to think that evolution says that functional DNA sequences are just caused by the laws of physics and chance. There is a non-random filtration mechanism at work which Tim here seems to be completely ignoring.
No, that sequence produces a message which is a mark of intelligence. So how do I know it's intelligence? Because it's the sequence. It's called, by the way, specified complexity. High improbability, and it fits an independently given pattern, a message, right?
What is the independently given pattern in biology? What independently gives it? The DNA sequences that have specific consequences are not independently given, quite the opposite. They are dependently derived from the process of mutation and natural selection. That's why you get weird, inefficient results like the counterproductively serpentine laryngeal nerve or the twisted skulls of the flounder. To everyone who helps me out on Patreon, you're a big help. Thanks so much.